Tell me about a time that you made a mistake. Ooh, this can be a tough interview question to answer. Welcome to the Life Work Balance YouTube channel. My name's Abby, and before we jump into my advice on how you can answer this question, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you're looking forward to learning about how you can answer this question. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive life work balance advice delivered directly to you every Sunday. Mistakes. None of us really enjoy talking about our previous or past mistakes. However, this might come up in an interview for you. So how do you answer the interview question, tell me about a time you made a mistake? Well, first, we need to understand why this question is being asked. The intention behind asking this question isn't to humiliate you or embarrass you. They're really not trying to torture you with this question. The intention behind this question is to show that you are aware that you have flaws, that you make mistakes sometimes, and that you have the ability to change, to grow, that you are resilient, and that you can take responsibility or accountability for mistakes and move on. However, this question is dangerous territory. Usually when we're asked about mistakes that we've made, our brain automatically goes to the worst of the worst. These might be mistakes that have deeply wounded us and caused us a lot of trauma because of maybe the outcomes that they ended up having. Maybe we were fired. Maybe we were put on a performance improvement plan. Maybe we were severely embarrassed in front of our teammates and we felt humiliated for weeks or months afterwards. Maybe we even got in trouble with our boss, with our boss's boss, or human resources. But a word of warning when it comes to answering this question is you're not expected to share the biggest mistake you've ever made or the worst mistake you've ever made. You do not have to share a super uncomfortable mistake. You do not have to reopen that wound and experience that trauma over again by retelling an interviewer about the worst mistake you've ever made. We all make mistakes on a fairly regular basis. And mistakes are areas for us to grow, areas for us to learn and develop and become better. So you can think about these different types of mistakes instead of the worst mistake you've ever made. These mistakes might be a mistake you made that your supervisor asked you to fix or change. Maybe there was just something small that happened on a project that wasn't even necessarily a mistake or a failure, but just needed to be adjusted or changed. Maybe it wasn't even a mistake or a failure at all. Maybe it was just more of a hindsight realization that you had that you might do something differently in the future if you encountered this type of situation again. You might not have even been told that you needed to change something or fix something. It's just something that you on your own decided that you might do differently next time. Like maybe you took on too much work. You didn't say no to a project. Maybe you rushed through your work or you didn't check it. And there were some mistakes or errors that were made because the process was rushed. Maybe you were given a task or a project and you made assumptions about how that task or project should be done or what the goals were, and you didn't ask for additional clarification. Ultimately, when it comes down to answering this question, you want to answer it in the star or the car format. Now, if you're not quite sure what that means or what that is, I've got multiple videos on this topic. So I've linked to the playlist on how to answer these types of behavioral-based interview questions in the description box below. And I've also put it in a card up above. But ultimately, you don't want to dwell on the mistake itself. You want to briefly describe the situation or the context for sharing this story and this mistake. Then you want to describe the actions that you took to learn from it, to fix it, to change it. And then you really want to focus the majority of your answer on the results. What were the results that were achieved by those actions that you put into place? How was this situation or this task fixed? How was the error rectified? What did you learn? How did you grow? Did you actually do something different next time? And how was it different from the first time you did it? So when you're answering this type of question, briefly describe the situation or the context, which is that mistake, and then focus more heavily on your actions and focus most heavily on the results that were achieved or the results that came after. Maybe the results were you made a checklist and you've used that checklist moving forward on your specific project that you're working on, and you haven't missed a step or you haven't had any errors in your spreadsheets since. Maybe before you submit something, you take a moment to review your work, or you ask a peer or a colleague to review your work before you submit a project. Or maybe you've practiced setting stronger boundaries, not in an assertive or dismissive or disruptive way, but maybe you've learned your own boundaries and how to set your priorities in a more effective way. So now you're able to say no to projects that aren't within your scope of work. Ultimately, your answer to this question should be focused on your own growth and development. It's not focused on stumping you or asking you to reveal your worst mistake that you've ever made, to embarrass you in front of the interviewers. Keep the star in the car method in mind and focus on the results that you achieved. How did you grow? How did you become better? What did you learn? So when you're answering this question, you don't need to bear everything and reveal your biggest regret or your biggest mistake you've ever made. You also don't want to say, oh no, I've never made any mistakes, or I don't know if I've ever made any mistakes. The interviewers want to see that you recognize that you're not perfect and that you have areas to grow and develop, that you take accountability and responsibility, and you do something different next time to achieve better results. So with that being said, I hope you found this video helpful. If you're wondering how you might be able to answer this type of question in an interview and you have some ideas and some scenarios that come up for you and you'd like to discuss them with someone, I'd love to have an interview strategy session with you. I have a limited number of interview strategy sessions available each week. So if you would like to work with me, please go ahead and contact me now. I've got my email and my website linked in the description box below, so you can see what sorts of services I offer and you can schedule with me directly. So if you found this video helpful, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any additional comments, questions, thoughts, or ideas on how you might be able to answer this type of question in an interview, please throw it in the comments box below. While I love receiving comments and I try to get back to everyone individually, if I'm not able to, just know that your comments and the experiences that you share may help someone in the future who's watching this video to prepare for their upcoming interview. So again, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas, throw them in the comments box below and potentially help someone else who's preparing for their interview in the future. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can continue to receive life-work balance advice delivered directly to you every Sunday. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.